I'm big on. I enjoy the 4th of July. I don't know if it's my favorite holiday, but it's in the conversation. 1, it celebrates our country. 2, there's fireworks. I do like blowing stuff up, right? Who don't like blowing stuff up? And I survived childhood with all my fingers, at times blowing stuff up, at times just watching other people blowing stuff up. All these things I celebrate. Plus, whether you grill or barbecue, I like eating and smelling food that's cooked outdoors. It's watermelon season, my favorite fruit. Watermelon is undefeated. Don't love a mushy watermelon. And one of the great scientific achievements of our lifetime is whoever invented the seedless watermelon. You, sir, or ma'am, or madam, deserve a round of applause, right?
Very nice.
I mean, this was a big problem, you know. Right? I get it. I have sunflower seeds on a daily basis. It's one of the things I love most about baseball. But let's be honest, the spitting of the seeds, the spitting of the shells can be tiresome, can be tedious. And as good as watermelon is, its lone flaw, its fatal flaw wasn't just seeds, big black seeds that you felt like, do I swallow? Are they going to grow in my stomach? It took away from the enjoyment of such an amazing product. So I'm like, look, I've lived in other parts of the world. I've actually lived in other countries, Russia and Israel. I've visited probably 15 other countries. And they're all unique, special, in many ways great. Like, I was in Mexico City for a week and a half. It was dangerous. Beautiful, dangerous, overcrowded, sprawling. The city never ends. And yet, I'd go back. It was cool. Food was interesting. Culture was amazing. A lot of historic ruins. But every time I get on the plane, every single time, and I land LAX, JFK, O'Hare, Dallas, whatever airport I'm coming in from, and I've been to Mexico, to Russia, to Israel, to France, to Yugoslavia, to Lithuania, to Denmark, to Poland, to the Czech Republic. Anywhere I've been, Israel, you see Old Glory and you're like, man, it's good to be home. So when I heard there was this controversy over some Betsy Ross inspired sneakers, I was like, Betsy Ross? The one who made the old flag? Huh. Okay. And it was with Nike, my favorite shoe. I'm a Nike guy. Do I wear Nikes because Jordan wore Nikes? No. I mean, in all honesty, like, there's about 4 or 5 pairs of Jordans that are really cool. There's lots of Jordans that are like, that was a lot. They put a lot into it, and there's a lot of something, but I didn't play in them. Like, I like Nikes. So Nike was going to put out this Betsy Ross-inspired Air Max for 4th of July. And Colin Kaepernick, who, of course, is who they have supported, is an endorser of Nike, apparently nixed it because the flag of that era, he felt like the snapshot of that era was it was one of oppression, slavery, and was offensive. Now, it's one of the things you like about kind of diverse thoughts, right? Where you sit there and you go like, well, I never really thought about that. Like, it was an era of slavery, and it was a time in which we had different thoughts on, we pointed out, like, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is celebrated, but it didn't actually consider people of color to be man, right? It didn't. So I understand it, but has anyone ever looked at a historic flag and thought, well, that's offensive? Like, what are we exactly doing now? It's okay to study and celebrate history and understand that years ago we were flawed And that though we had different ideals of what freedom was, it doesn't mean we run away from every historic symbol. Does it? Is that what we want to do? I'm sorry. A Betsy Ross inspired flag is not offensive. Has never been offensive. And when we continue to react to the smallest number of people, what you end up doing is kind of the opposite of the intended effect. The intended effect is to bring attention to like, we're all aware that slavery exists. Anybody not aware that slavery exists in their country? No. Oh, really? There was slavery? I didn't know. Come on. That segregation occurred in our country. We're all aware of that, yes? I don't know what you're bringing attention to other than yourself. You're not solving any problems. Right? So let me get this straight. The same guy who does not believe the flag, he wants to stand for the flag because the things the flag represents, or the people who, whether it's first responders or police officers or whatever. So that flag's not good enough, but the old flag's not good enough. Help me out here. If you're going to be somebody who says a previous flag was from an era you didn't like and you don't like this era, what era do you like? We've gotten to this point where every corporation is so scared about offending the one or two other. You almost champion. Remember the Washington Redskins? Remember that there were a couple years there where people, I'm not going to say the Redskins nickname. Because nowadays, if you did call somebody a Redskin, you'd be like, how old are you? Like, what are you even talking about? You don't call somebody a Redskin. I don't call you a black skin or whatever. But I think we all know that the idea of celebrating Native Americans now, even though we've removed them from many nicknames all across the country, there isn't the negative connotation of you go back to the early 1900s, right? Or even the 1950s, where they used to tell stories about the cowboys and the Indians were the bad guy. Like, we don't do that now. Now we look at the name Redskins and we think, oh, Native American warrior, right? But we don't even allow Marquette to be the Warriors anymore. Now they're the Golden Eagles, because somehow warrior is offensive. When you're a Native American warrior, that's kind of not offensive. You fought for your land, for the things you believed in. They weren't the ones who did anything wrong. So we do live in a time where we have interesting thoughts. We don't want to be oppressive. We don't want to limit the freedoms of others. And just because all of our history isn't great history, I do think we should take back and understand the context of the time. The context of the time tells everything. And the more you bring political thought, especially political thought from people who don't have well-rounded political thought, into sports, the more you're going to push people away instead of bringing everybody in. I don't know a human being alive that looked at the Betsy Ross flag and said, before Colin Kaepernick, and said, that's offensive to me. Right? Offensive things is kind of like, you know it when you see it, right? It's like the definition of pornography. And celebrating our first flag, which was sewn together by a lady, and it was uniting 13 different colonies, a place of religious freedom, a place that broke out from another country, from under the regime of another country, and slowly but surely has evolved and worked things out to truly be the land of the free and the home of the brave. I got to be honest. I'm kind of offended that somebody would be offended over that flag. But I'm not so offended that anything should be done about it, because my level of offense doesn't really rise to the level of anybody reacting to it. And if none of this made sense to you, good. It doesn't make any sense to any of us. What are we doing? I ask this all the time. What are we doing? I don't know why people react to idiots on social media. I don't. They're idiots on social media. Now, I'm not talking about reputable people, but we do this on Entertainment Tonight on a nightly basis. I every once in a while, I'll flip around and be like, Alyssa Milano was criticized by so-and-so on Twitter. Like, who cares? Publicizing some idiot with 15 followers is doing what they want you to do. It's giving the voice to people who don't deserve, haven't earned the right to have a voice. And while Colin Kaepernick may, like, okay, so this is the one you're going to stick your flag behind? Sorry. Can't use the word flag with Colin Kaepernick because every flag seems to be one that carries something that he doesn't like. But this is the thing. Like, look, dude, I have a pretty open mind about Kaepernick. I mean, I don't think he had any idea what he was doing when he did it. But once he did it, he didn't take ownership of it. And he wasn't smart enough to not wear the pig socks. He wasn't smart enough to not wear the Castro T-shirt. But more than anything, he's a voiceless leader of a movement which he started. But it did hit. But there was never a second step to it. Yes, he donated money. And he did some good works. But he didn't know how to celebrate it and champion it and build on it. And then Nike kind of resurrected it. But this is what you're going to waste our time with? The celebration of our country's independence, you're going to pick out something that we know all existed. We're fully aware. We're fully aware. And you're going to tell a company to not celebrate our first flag because you deem it as the first human being on earth breathing air for it to be offensive. Sorry, that feels like the person on social media that wakes up in the morning and looks for something to be offended by. That doesn't help anybody. That doesn't teach anybody anything. That doesn't cure anything. That doesn't make anything better. It only makes us think, boy, you're really, really reaching and really wasting all of our time. And somebody at Nike spent a lot of time designing a shoe, and it went through a bunch of layers. People were like, that's a good idea. And they're like, no, Colin Kaepernick's offended, so let's cut it off. What are we doing here? What was the purpose of the shoe? What was the purpose of the design? What is the percentage of people who could possibly be offended by a design? And I can't believe that Nike so quickly backed down. But that's the era in which we live. Just the idea that a corporation could possibly offend the smallest percentage of people causes them to, just not worth it. We are in the least fun era ever. Comedians can't be funny. History can't be celebrated. Even if we know what parts of the history don't deserve to be celebrated. Hi, I'm Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio, and you need to subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel where you can hear and see me. Why not? Plus, everybody else who's awesome here on Fox Sports Radio.